We're going to have two types of dialogues. The first is going to be the business and leaders dialogues, and then the second will be the presidential and business leaders dialogues. So in all, three very important conversations are going to take place: breakfast meetings, business and policy leaders dialogues, and presidential and business leaders dialogues. Now, the thematic areas undergirding the premise of our theme, which is infrastructure this year, will provide a complete set of understandings on the importance of infrastructure development in the continental trade ecosystem. Our panels and sessions will seek to unpack such areas as funding, transport and logistics, sustainable energy, digital infrastructure, infrastructure development partners, social infrastructure, and we'll also have fireside chats, addresses and presentations by very high level personalities. Now, if you have been following the Africa Prosperity Network, we tend to break our dialogues into two parts. That is the intellectual part. The first one is the enabling pillar, and then the second would be the delivery. So the enabling pillar, of course, will be investment. And this time, we're going to be looking at the PPPs. The delivery pillars would look at two areas of infrastructure: hard infrastructure and soft infrastructure. Hard infrastructure being energy, housing, transport, agriculture. Soft being ICT, healthcare, education, sports, culture, and tourism, and of course legal. We're going to have a full spectrum approach. We're going to be looking at infrastructure in different areas. And because this is a multi-dimensional, cross-sectoral set of conversations between the public and private sectors at the highest level, our high-level speakers and panelists will address information asymmetries in order to bridge the gap between public and private sectors. Information asymmetries being one of the biggest reasons why policies do not speak to the private sector actors who are supposed to implement them. So we're going to be looking at that. The first panel, most important panel, we'll be looking at the funding gap. Now, the funding gap of about $100 billion. I think it's between 100 and 150, 60, thereabout billion dollars, but the gap really is
recording in progress.
So the funding gap really is $100 billion, and that is something that we're going to be looking at with presentations by the AFCFTA Director for Trade in Services, Investment, IPR, and Digital Trade. And we're also going to be having a context setting by a Vice President from the African Development Bank. And it will be moderated by the UN Resident Coordinator, His Excellency Charles Abani. So this is a very important panel to begin the program. The second panel will be looking at transport logistics, necessary for free movement within the region and making it a reality. This will be addressing gaps in transports and logistics, and you would, for those of you who have worked, beat journalists who have worked on infrastructure across the region, you would be aware that the cost of infrastructure, the cost of intra-African trade goes up by 40% because of serious inefficiencies in our infrastructure systems across the region. We also have problems with visas and connections, where someone leaving Algeria would have to go to France in order to connect to the UK and then go to Zimbabwe. I mean, sometimes South Africa and then connect back to Zimbabwe. So it's very hectic, and we all heard Dangote some time back complain that he's a big investor, and to go around Africa, he needs visas to go all around, and that is something that we seek to address as well. Day two, we're going to begin with delivering accessible, affordable, sustainable energy solutions for Africa. You heard my wonderful colleague here, Nanaya, talk about efforts being made in Ethiopia, for instance, for the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, which can power the whole of East Africa. Why don't we look at a regional collaboration that will make this happen? We're looking at South Africa, where after apartheid, a lot of people were plugged into the grid, and for that matter, there was a strain on the electricity grid. And so you all know that for years there has been some power shedding in South Africa. So why don't we talk to DRC, which has plans for the Inga Dam, which can power the whole of Africa, so that the two can collaborate. I mean, the entire region can collaborate, because South Africa has the wherewithal to make this happen. We're going to move to the next panel, which talks about digital infrastructure, leveraging digital infrastructure, innovation and technology to connect Africa. We know that by 2035, I think about 300 million more people in Africa would need to be connected to the internet. And with a growth of interoperability of payments across Africa, something that we worked on last year, we pushed really hard. We went to the AU, as you heard Nanaya say, and we are going to push it as a policy proposal at the AU level. You can talk to the CEO when we're done. You can interview him on that. He will give you some details on that, or you can call our offices for more details on that. So this is very important. Digital systems are going to allow for payments. You're in Ghana, you can buy in Nigeria with your Ghana cedis. The Nigerian can buy in Liberia with his Naira. The Liberian can buy in Zimbabwe with her Liberian dollars, and so forth and so forth. And for this, the context setting is going to be done by the CEO of PAPS, that is the Pan-African Payments and Settlement System. It's relevant that we have a person of his caliber to give us the context setting. And the moderation is going to be done by Samuel Amano, who's CEO of Blue Space Africa Technologies. We move on to the next, which will be the role of Africa's infrastructure development partners. They are very important. So we're talking about the multilateral financial institutions who have been very instrumental to the infrastructure development across Africa. And so when data shows that poor infrastructure shrinks national growth by 2 percentage points and slows business productivity by a whopping 40%, it becomes a concern for the continent. And so we're going to have a representative from Ghana, we're going to have a representative from China, a representative from Japan, and this will be moderated by Tanisha Tego. It's a very important discussion we're going to be having on that. We will have finally a panel on building the Africa we want, and that will talk about social infrastructure. The built environment matters, cities as it were. So Africa's urban population has been growing at a very high rate, alarmingly so. From 27% in 1950, we went to 40% in 2015, and by 2050 it's projected to reach 60%. This means that there is going to be a lot of strain on urban infrastructure, and this is very important. I mean, the statistics do come from the United Nations Economic and Social Affairs. So this is going to be moderated by Nanaya Mensah, who is seated on my right-hand side. Professor Boateng will give takeaways for the Summit of Heads of State and Business Leaders for the next day. And so that's basically what we are looking at. We will have fireside chats on the third day, and these are going to feature a lot of very, very important personalities. So basically, this is how the panels and the dialogues are structured.
And hope that our works are going to develop further in the next in the years to come, and hope also that we strengthen that partnership through the appropriate mechanisms. That being said, let me also add, of course, welcome all of you under the name of His Excellency the SG of the AFCFTA, Mr. Wamkele Mene. And it's my honor to welcome you to this pre-event briefing for the Africa Prosperity Dialogues 2025, organized by the Africa Prosperity Network in collaboration with the Secretariat. As this is one of the first major events of the year, it is fitting to wish you all a happy and prosperous 2025. As you may well know, the AFCFTA has made significant progress since its launch, with a solid institutional framework and growing trade under the Guided Trade Initiative. However, infrastructure remains a critical bottleneck. Inefficient transport and logistics, for example, add 30 to 40% to intra-African trade costs, hindering SMEs in particular. And to address this, the Secretariat is championing the establishment of trade aggregators to integrate SMEs into continental value chains, with Ghana, Egypt, Rwanda, Kenya, and South Africa leading the way. This year's dialogues under the theme Delivering Africa's Single Market Through Infrastructure, Invest, Connect, Integrate, are therefore timely. The theme emphasizes the crucial role of infrastructure development in realizing the AFCFTA's vision as a single integrated market for goods, services, and investments across the continent. These pillars have high priorities, and by emphasizing infrastructure development, investment mobilization, enhanced connectivity and digital innovation, the APD plays an important role in advancing the AFCFTA's implementation and unlocking its vast potential to drive Africa's economic transformation. The AFCFTA Secretariat is committed to working with all stakeholders, including governments, the private sector, the development partners, to create an enabling environment for infrastructure development. And we believe that APD 2025 will generate valuable insights and momentum to accelerate progress towards our shared vision of a prosperous and integrated Africa. As we prepare for the event, we look forward to working closely with the media to build momentum and amplify the message that Africa is ready to deliver on its promise of economic transformation through collective action and strategic investments. Your role is crucial in shaping the narrative of Africa's prosperity and progress. I thank the Africa Prosperity Network for their continued collaboration and commitment to these dialogues, and encourage all stakeholders to join us in Accra for what promises to be a landmark event. Together, we can transform infrastructure into a driver of inclusive growth, connectivity, and integration across the continent. I thank you very much for your
Africa Prosperity Network. We treasure and we value our partnership with the media, and we would like first to thank them for all the contribution they so far made in making the African Prosperity Dialogue successful in the past 2 rounds, and for us the role of the media has been instrumental in taking this dialogue this far. So far, the dialogue has evolved, and we are moving towards more of active role of the media. So your presence here is really valued, and we appreciate it. We had a wonderful exchange with the media last week in the webinar, and during that, the role has been materialized and become more clear in shaping the dialogue itself. So we look for more engagements through this press briefing here, and we're looking at this partnership in a way that will help us shift the narrative from poverty reduction in Africa towards more of the pursuit of prosperity itself. This could not be successful unless we have a wonderful partnership with many actors that we cannot even say who they are, all of them at once. But among all those, we really treasure the biggest partners in this event, who are the Ghanaian people, who provided the hospitality and being the host for this event. And we also would like to thank our partners in the African Continental Trade Free Trade Area Secretariat for dealing with us through all this journey towards reaching this point so far. And among many people who are contributing to this, as I said, it is very difficult for us to mention the name of all our sponsors whom they contributed to so far for the involvement of African Prosperity Network and contributed to the dialogues that the network organized. This morning, we are sharing with you a full details of what to expect during the 3 days event. The wonderful team here, because of all of them, there's more of experts, there's more of team members who couldn't make it or busy trying to make things happen. But we got some of the team leads here to share with you shortly in a brief what to expect during the 3 days success. I take the opportunity to
shipping. There will be executives from the aviation, the transport, logistic, and telecommunication industries. We will also see global financiers, multilateral financial institutions, bankers, and investors. Of course, also thought leaders, including academics, civil society organizations, and Minister of States, traditional rulers, European Commission executive, and regional bloc representative will also be present. In the area of media representation, leading international media houses such as CNN, Bloomberg, Cleopatra Media, CNBC and Forbes, All Africa, and of course, you will be amplifying the voices of African success stories. The session, the panels, and networking opportunities have been carefully curated to ensure participants leave not just inspired, but empowered with the tools and connection to make a difference. With participants from the public and private sectors, academia, media, and development organizations, APD 2025 offers unparalleled networking opportunities. Attendees will engage in high-level discussions, forge partnership, and secure investment that will propel projects and policy forward. Thank you for your time.
Policies that support youth-led businesses in Africa. In terms of infrastructure, as infrastructure development remains one of the most critical barriers to economic growth across Africa, the need for innovative funding models has never been more urgent. ASME Ventures is addressing this gap by building robust funding frameworks that support both emerging and established infrastructure projects, therefore unlocking economic opportunities, job creation, and sustainable development across the continent. Their meeting, titled Exploring Venture Capital and Private Equity Funding Models, will cover infrastructure with the following key topics: unlocking private sector investment for infrastructure projects in Africa, and analyzing the role of venture capital and private equity in filling this financing gap, with the goals being to discuss the role of venture capital and private equity in driving innovation, and again to identify actionable strategies to foster private-public partnerships for infrastructure development. Speaking of public-private partnerships, the FCFTA has the potential to boost intra-Africa trade by removing tariffs and trade barriers. However, its success hinges on the strong public-private partnerships that can provide the necessary infrastructure and support systems. Africa Law Practice International is at the forefront of driving PPP initiatives, facilitating investments in infrastructure and technology to accelerate the AFCFTA's implementation. The breakfast meeting titled Powering Trade for AFCFTA Rollout is organized by Africa Law Practice International and covers the role of public-private partnerships in facilitating the AFCFTA's success, the importance of infrastructure in enabling intra-African trade, and addressing barriers to cross-border trade in Africa, with the goals of the session being to discuss how PPPs can enhance trade and infrastructure for AFCFTA. We hope that participants will leave these breakfast meetings with clear insights into the challenges and opportunities that Africa is facing, with strategic connections with key stakeholders, business leaders, policymakers, and innovators, and with some actionable solutions that they can actually implement in their businesses and governments across Africa. We encourage all of you to register for these sessions early. Full details are available on the Africa Prosperity Dialogues website. For those of you who've already registered for the dialogues, the link to register has been sent to you by email. For those interested but not yet registered, please do complete the registration process for both the main conference and the breakfast meetings that you would like to attend, as space is limited for these high demand breakfast meetings. Let's ensure that we leverage this platform to create tangible outcomes and strategies that will move the needle on Africa's prosperity. Thank you all for your attention.
Have lived through, and because of that experience, they are determined to define for themselves who they are and who they should be. In my view, the essence of this statement is an African who doesn't give up, one who dreams, one who commits, one who strives, and one who pushes the continent further. And that is the essence for what we are calling Africa. Over the past years, we've celebrated some of the most phenomenal, impactful Africans, and we are doing the same this year. The basis for our celebration is not built in static thinking. We don't pick the same categories and reward them every year. The awards are given based on the circumstances and exigencies and what's happening across the continent. But most importantly, some of the things that we look out for on the continent are: one, visionary leadership and the impact of the individuals. Number two, we're looking out for individuals who are contributing strongly to Pan-African development. Number three, we're looking for individuals who are driven by innovation and transformation. Number four, we're looking for individuals who are guided by sustainability and long-term impact in Africa. Number five, we're looking at ethical leadership and governance. And number four, we're looking at sectorial excellence. I'm excited to say that if you reference last year's awards, this year's awards, the proposed awards, look very different and they're very distinct. And some of the proposed awards that you might experience on the last day dinner include the following. One, the Lifetime Achievement Award in Business and Media Excellence. Two, Distinguished Entrepreneurial Leadership Award. Three, Africa Education and Empowerment Champion Award. Four, Philanthropic Leadership Award. Five, Excellence in Corporate Social Responsibility. Six, Visionary Leadership in Emerging Markets. And seven, Trailblazer in African Economic Development Award. Again, the point must be made that there's a special award for this year, which is the posthumous award. It will be given to one of Africa's most celebrated tech minds. And I think it's someone that once you come for the event or you follow the event announcement is made, you'll be super excited about. The event is the last day, I think it's the 1st of February 2025. And on that evening, we will celebrate the champions of Africa with one thing underpinning it, that tomorrow's leaders will learn from today's leaders. And I thank you very much.
I see you.